Today on Wildlife Nation Expedition Florida, we are working with the Guardians of the Everglades, helping to restore America's most important wetland that is now in peril. We'll track an invasive species with the help of a very special pup.
You ready to hunt? Let's go. Find it. Find it.
And experience the wonder of reintroducing native species back to their natural habitat.
This is your home. This is where you need to be.
I'm Jeff Corwin. Wildlife Nation is dedicated to conserving the natural wonders of North America. And now we're teaming up with the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida to safeguard the vibrant wilderness of the Sunshine State. We'll explore this region's diverse landscapes and extraordinary creatures as we work alongside the passionate conservationists dedicated to protecting them. This is Wildlife Nation Expedition Florida. Today, we are exploring the celebrated River of Grass. The vast Everglades ecosystem encompasses 2,400 square miles of wetland habitat critical to the survival of extraordinary species found nowhere else on Earth, like the gregarious river otter, the vibrant roseate spoonbill, and the iconic American alligator.
However, this irreplaceable ecosystem is now in jeopardy by industrialized agriculture, pollution, invasive species, climate change, urban expansion, and the disruption of its natural water cycle through industrialized engineering. Alone, they are devastating, but together they conspire a perfect catastrophic storm upon the Everglades.
No one understands this better than my friend and Miccosukee elder, Betty Osceola. For the Miccosukee tribe, the Everglades is not just a home, but a vital core sustaining the community's history, economy, culture, and future. Betty has brought me to a remote island hammock that has cradled her people's stories and traditions for countless generations.
The cultural bond that the Miccosukee have to these sacred islands like this, it runs deep and it's ancient. And fire, Betty, is a big part of that story.
Yes, it is. Our people, we say fire was once a human being. It was a grandfather that wanted to leave something behind to the people so they would always remember him. So what we do, we give an offering to the fire to bless this island and this camp. Here, we're under our Kukchiki. When we escaped to the islands, we used the materials that was available to us, like the cypress. And you see the thatch? That's the cabbage palm tree. So we have shelter that is very natural to the environment, so we're not being too destructive to that environment, that habitat.
Way back in the day, what was it like for the Miccosukee people who lived in this place? How tough was life back then?
You know, when I think back to the ancestors and the stories I've heard from my elders, it seemed to be a simpler life. Even though it might have appeared harder, wildlife was abundant. They didn't have to worry about finding food. They didn't have to worry about getting fish. You could take your water right out of the Everglades to drink, to cook with, to wash your clothes.
Today, the Everglades faces so many challenges. You first look at it, all seems right as rain in this ecosystem, but it's not. It's broken.
It is, and today you and I could not just take water out of the Everglades to drink it. We'd get sick. With the threat from the python and other invasive species, we've lost 90% of the wildlife out here in the Everglades. And so when you look at that, you might want to get feelings of hopelessness. But for me, I have hope because of what we're doing today. Our tribe has made it its goal to help the ecosystem by bringing back these animals that were historically here. And also, we're teaching our youth to be the next generation of caretakers. So we always have hope that we can heal this ecosystem that's hurting. She's not broken, she's hurting. And we have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village of all of us together to help this hurting ecosystem. And the Miccosukees used to be a very private people, but now we've gone to educating the public, whether bringing schools, bringing politicians, bringing other agencies out here to this environment to show them how we understand this environment with the help of our scientists working hand in hand with our tribal elders.
The Miccosukee community is undertaking an ambitious restoration mission, starting with removing invasive species to restore the balance in the Everglades. Next, they'll reintroduce native animals like raccoons, possums, and birds like raptors and waterfowl. This is critical for the Everglades' interconnected ecosystem, crucial to the Miccosukee and all of Florida. I'm truly honored to be a part of this very important mission, an exciting expedition focused on saving the vital legacy of the River of Grass. Coming up, we use man's best friend to find invasive species.
Chateau is the solution to this incredible python problem.
I'm joining the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida in an essential conservation effort in the Everglades. Due to specific cultural restrictions of the tribe, they have tasked non-Miccosukee experts to remove invasive species and rejuvenate this critical ecosystem. Among these experts are Dr. Craig Vanderheiden, the director of Miccosukee Fish and Wildlife, and Marcel Bozas. Their expertise is vital as we take on one of this ecosystem's most formidable invaders.
This is the River of Grass. This is the backyard for the Miccosukee tribal community. When you look at it, Craig, it looks perfect. But we've got a major problem, don't we?
Yes, we do, Jeff. It might look beautiful, but we have an ecological catastrophe on our hands.
So we know that invasive species are crashing this ecosystem. And probably the top of that list would be pythons.
Growing more than 20 feet in length, the Burmese python is one of the largest snakes in the world and is the ultimate invasive species, and they have devastated the Everglades ecosystem.
This dog may be a solution. This is Chateau, and what makes Chateau specialized in finding pythons?
He's been initially trained to alert when he can smell a python and lead us to where they are. And these particular dogs have about 100,000 times better smell than we do.
100,000 times better than we do.
Yeah.
In less than 30 years, snakes have become the dominant predator in this ecosystem. 90% of all the furry creatures are gone. Deer, possum, raccoons,
Squirrels.
bobcats, squirrels.
Yeah, everything's gone.
Listen, it's quiet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard to say because I love snakes. I always have to remind myself that the snake did nothing wrong. It's just surviving.
It makes it difficult with the kind of job that we do as well, because we have that same mentality.
So perhaps Chateau is the solution to this incredible and devastating python problem. All right, how are we gonna do this?
So, Chateau, you ready to hunt? Let's go. Find
All
it.
right.
Find it. Come. Oh, black racer. Chateau, come.
Will he smell the racer or just the python?
Just the Burmese python.
That's incredible. So we just had a black racer fly on through, and he's not interested.
No, it's amazing. Of all the thousands of smells he can get, he's trained just to pick up that scent of the Burmese python.
Focused on the mission. All right, let's go find a python.
Come, Chateau. Find it.
So guys, come on in. Chateau has picked up something in here.
Come on, Chateau, find it.
So this vegetation is thick. I would say impenetrable. I'm gonna find a python. That's where you gotta go.
Hey, Jeff, we found something really interesting. Come and have a look at this.
Okay. Wow. Look at this. We found a big part of the problem, and it's right here. You can see this nest filled with dozens and dozens of python eggs. If you want a powerful example of how an invasive species outcompetes and takes over an ecosystem, look at this, because here is the next generation of the invader. It's almost like the plot thickening for a horror movie.
Oh, it is.
So how many eggs would have been laid here?
So looks like we got probably 60 to 70 eggs.
60 to 70 eggs. This is such a terrifying example of how unprecedented this environmental catastrophe is. The invasive species, these pythons, are taking over this environment. And Greg, there's nothing there to take on the challenge.
No, nothing. They're the apex predator in this environment. What is really important about this find as well is every year or 2 years, they'll use the same place to nest. There's some older eggs in there that we found from probably a previous nesting. And the female will actually wrap herself around the eggs and incubate them.
That's an interesting fact, Craig. The reptiles, right? You think pochilic, ectothermic. They're not generating a lot of body temperature. The exception, though, is a female snake with an egg clutch these pythons will wrap around it. First of all, they're incredibly protective. You don't want to mess with the mom python and her eggs. But she'll create these almost like little shiver reflexive reactions that generate an electrical impulse, a heat energy, which assists with incubating that egg clutch. All right, let's go find a python.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Just a little further, and Chateau discovers a Burmese python camouflaged in the foliage.
Watch out, Chateau, get away, get away.
Good boy, good boy.
We are working with the Miccosukee tribe's conservation team focused on removing invasive species from the Everglades. We've been on a desperate search for Burmese pythons with a specially trained dog, Chateau.
Chateau, find it, find it.
He's just spotted one of these elusive serpents.
Watch out, Chateau, get away, get away.
Good boy, good boy.
Just like the old days. So this is what it's all about. We've got this Burmese python right here, a young one, and it's in defensive mode. Again, I always want to remind people, this is an environmental catastrophe in southern Florida. In Asia where it lives, it's a critical part of that ecosystem.
Absolutely.
With that said, as stewards working with our Miccosukee partners, we need to restore this habitat, and that means getting rid of these invasive snakes. And it is an incredible challenge. Now, right now, this snake is in what is known as its opaque cycle. It's getting ready to shed. So you see its eyes are blue, and eventually it will do ecdysis. It'll shed off this skin as it grows and renews itself. So it made it a little easier to catch. But this is just one of perhaps millions of pythons today overtaking this environment.
Yeah, nobody really knows how many there are, but there are hundreds of thousands to millions of snakes all through the Everglades. The small mammals have such an important part to play in the ecosystem, and the python has removed about 90% of the fur-bearing animals. They finish eating most of the mammals, they're turning to the wading bird colonies. And so they'll eat birds like wood-storks, ibis, cormorants.
So they're adapting.
They're
moving the dial as a predator.
Yes.
Before we remove this python from the ecosystem, we need to get some biometric data. This valuable information will be critical to the Miccosukee as they manage this invasive predator. First, Craig takes a GPS coordinate from where we found the snake. Then Marcel and I carefully stretch it out for a measurement.
8 feet, 2 inches.
Wow, that's a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Finally, Marcel determines its gender.
Marcel, why is it important that we know the gender of this snake? How does it contribute to the success of this project?
So the males and the females do behave slightly different, right? So we want to know where the males versus the females are and what their different levels of activity are, because we want to be able to pattern each of them to optimize our rate of capture. Really, if we catch females, that's going to have a much bigger impact on the overall ecosystem because they're the ones laying all the eggs, really leading this massive population boom.
Craig, today was mission success, but this is just one small step in this long conservation journey. What is the future prognosis for this ecosystem with this invasive species?
The prognosis is very dire for the ecosystem, but the more pythons we remove, the better it is for the small mammals. So one of our goals is to remove as many pythons as we can, but also to reintroduce some of the small fur-bearing mammals like raccoons, possums, squirrels.
Replace the animals that have been consumed by these snakes.
Yeah.
By doing that, this ecosystem is vibrant and intact, and equally important to fulfill the Miccosukee stewardship mission.
Absolutely.
Up next, the second part of our stewardship mission begins as we prepare rescued wildlife to be released onto their new home, the Miccosukee Everglades.
It looks like a perfect candidate to thrive in the land of the Miccosukee.
Our journey into the Everglades reveals a wetland reshaped by both nature and humans. However, the balance is tipping, with invasive species like the Burmese python disrupting native wildlife. The mission of the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida has been twofold. First, to tackle these non-native invaders, as we have successfully done with this python. Equally important to mitigate the impact of invasive species is the restoration of critically important native animals that have been pushed to the brink.
This is so cool. Charlotte, I love programs like this. So Charlotte is the veterinarian medical director for the South Florida Wildlife Center, and they have this challenge. This is a fastly growing suburban environment. Animals lose their habitat. When they get in trouble, there are no more wild places for them to go. So Charlotte, how are we gonna take these birds that were in trouble and make them a part of the conservation solution for the Miccosukee?
We're gonna help by contributing our owls that we've rescued and rehabilitated here and bringing them out to that area.
So we're gonna supplement this incredible ecosystem with creatures that have nowhere else to go but are ready to be wild.
Yeah, Jeff, so we have a screech owl here who's a perfect candidate to go to the Miccosukee habitat.
All right, let's catch a screech owl. So maybe it's him?
Maybe it's him.
There we go. So cute.
So cute.
So adorable. This is the eastern screech owl. It looks really healthy. It looks like a perfect candidate to thrive in the land of the Miccosukee, but that wasn't the case originally, was it?
No, when this guy came in, he had big challenges. He had likely been hit by a car because they're very low-flying owls. He had head trauma and even possible rodenticide toxicity based on the fact that he was not clotting very well. So he had a lot to overcome to make it this far.
Rodenticides, widely used to exterminate rodents, are now inadvertently harming owls and other birds of prey. When raptors consume rodents that have been contaminated with rodenticide, they too fall victim to this deadly poison. Before our beautiful screech owl can be released, Charlotte performs one last health assessment. She checks the eyes.
What are you looking for?
I'm literally just looking to make sure that the cornea, which is the surface of the eye, is nice and clear. There's no scratches. There's no signs of little inflammatory particles in the chamber of the eye. And now I'm going to use this to look at the back of the eye where you have the retina, and that's where it's really important because when they have head trauma, they can get tears back there that affect their vision.
How are the eyes looking?
The eyes look great, and now we're going to open up the wings and just make sure that all those feathers look amazing.
By having those scruffy, muffled feathers, when they fly in silently, which is pretty neat. So what do we think?
I think he's ready to go.
All right.
We carefully load up our screech owl, along with some rescued opossums and raccoons from the center. These creatures are a vital missing link of the Everglades ecosystem. Next, it's time to release our animals back into the Everglades, the ancestral home of the Miccosukee.
This is your home. This is where you need to be.
We're continuing our incredible journey with the Miccosukee tribe and their mission to restore the Everglades, a critical part of wild Florida. Now we're back with Betty to return these native wild Floridians back to their Everglades home where they belong.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right, they look ready to go back home.
I am so excited about this opportunity. To me, this is conservation in action. Take a problem that doesn't seem to have a solution. You get a little creative, teams come together, an ecosystem is salvaged, and these amazing animals, they get a second chance. It's awesome. Thank you.
That was great.
Pleasure.
Jeff, I want to welcome you to Bullseye Island. It's one of the islands that the tribe takes care of. These islands are very important to the wildlife of the Everglades in addition to the Miccosukees themselves. So this is where we're going to be releasing the raccoons and the other animals today. They're so scared. It's okay. It's where you need to be. It's your home. This is your home. This is where you need to be. It's okay.
If you're going to release small little fur-bearing animals, maybe we'll add that predator, like this amazing red-shouldered hawk.
Oh, wow. There he goes.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
These restoration projects never get old.
Sometimes it gets very emotional. It brings me to tears.
It is emotional because this is the living river of grass that belongs to all of us. It's a very special place.
I mean, there's really no words that can accurately describe how I feel as a Miccosukee, an indigenous person living here. It's just beyond words.
Well, we have one more bird. You ready?
Yes. In our culture, the owl represents our ancestors, the spirits. So I'm gonna let you have the honor to releasing this particular bird, and I'm gonna step back and watch.
Okay, thank you very much. And to be a part of this incredible moment with the privilege of working with the Miccosukee, that's just amazing. All right, buddy. It's all you. And that, my friends, is what it's all about.